Hello everybody, hopefully you're enjoying another week at home. But anyways, let's do our alternative assignment as promised yesterday. We're going to get into graphing some cosine functions this week. All of you need to know this sooner or later. And as I usually do, I make it nice and simple for you. So just follow right along. So, our goal is to graph this function right here. As you can see, it's 2 times cosine theta plus 1. And remember, when we're done, it's going to look like a wave, or at least part of a wave, since we're only going to do part of that wave. And let's look at the unit circle. Now remember, cosine, guys, cosine is your x-coordinate on the unit circle. Remember, sine is your y. So, let's just focus on some common, easy ones to actually memorize. For example, what is the cosine of 0 degrees? Well, the x, notice, for 0 degrees is 1. In other words, we just figured out that the cosine of 0 degrees is 1. All right, what about the cosine of 90 degrees? Well, you'll notice the x for cosine, x's cosine is 0. So we just figured out that the cosine of 90 degrees, sorry if I'm getting a little messy, but we'll do it on the other pages multiple times, is 0. What about 180 or pi? Well, the x is -1. In other words, the cosine of 180 degrees is -1. What about 270? See, we're just going by 90s, guys. That's all we're going to do. We're not going to go any of the square roots or radicals in between. We're sticking with the nice numbers. And it's going to give us a nice graph, as you'll find out. So what about 270? Well, the cosine, I'll stick with black here, of 270 degrees is the x value, which is 0. And finally, once we go all the way around the full circle, we're going to do a 360. Well, 360, I'm back where 0 is. So the cosine of 360, you see, is also 1. So remember, x is cosine, y is sine. That's one of the things I want you to start getting at. I've been drilling you for a couple weeks now on different videos. X is cosine, y is sine. Okay, believe it or not, guys, we're ready to do this. Let's make a table. Remember, our x really is theta now. Okay, that right there. Our y is still y. It's a function, y is a function of theta instead of x. So, let's first of all, before we do y, let's just do cosine theta, or review that from the unit circle. Again, we're just going to count by 90s. We're going to do 0 degrees, 90 degrees, 180, 270, 360. What was the cosine of 0, guys? Again, just look here. I'm not going to bounce back and forth like crazy. Again, look right here. That's where we found our values. The cosine of 0 was 1. The cosine of 90 was 0. The cosine of 180 was negative. Look at these nice numbers we're using. Cosine of 270 is 0. Cosine of 360 is 1. Of course, we don't want cosine theta. We want 2 times that. So let's do 2 times cosine theta. See, we're just going to do it in baby steps here. And then finally, we're going to get to y. But anyways, 2 cosine theta literally means we're just going to times these by 2. So 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 0 is 0. 2 times -1 is -2. 2 times 0 is 0, not 2. 2 times 1 is 2. Finally, to get the y, remember y, there's also a plus 1. So we're going to take this 2 cosine theta and add 1 to it. 2 plus 1 is 3. 0 plus 1 is 1. Negative 2 plus 1 is negative 1. 0 plus 1 is 1. 2 plus 1 is 3. Let's see what we get. 0 for x is 3 for y. Right there. Boom. 0, 3. 90 degrees for theta, I should say, is 1. 9 degrees is 1. 180 is negative 1. 180, negative 1. 270 is 1. 270 is 1. 360 is 3. 360 is 3. Now this pattern holds up, guys. So for example, if you did another 90, you'd be back to 0. If you did another 90, which is 2 squares on here, right? You would be back at, let's see here. What was it? 3. Then it was, oh, sorry. It would be at 1. My mistake. Good thing I double checked. See, even I have to double check my work. This pattern will always just repeat, guys. 3, 1, and then 540 would be negative 1. But guys, here's your wave. It's going to go like this. Like that. There's your wave. All right? Now let's do another one from scratch with less bouncing back and forth. All right, we're going to use that unit circle, the same values. Okay, so our goal is, let's graph or make a table for cosine theta to begin with. We're going to count by 90s. Remember, these are degrees. 0, remember, oh, it's not y technically yet. We're just doing cosine of theta. So cosine of 0 is 1 again. Cosine 90 is 0. Cosine of 180 is negative 1. Cosine of 270 is 0. Cosine of 360 is 1 again. Now this wants us to do 1/2. So we're going to do 1/2 of cosine theta. 1/2 means 1/2 of these. So I'm going to get, let's use decimals. 0.5, 0. 1/2 of negative 1 is negative 0.5. 1/2 of 0 is 0. 1/2 of 1 is positive 0.5. And finally, to get the whole function y, we have to minus 1. So y, and this actually was theta, right? Y is, we're just going to minus 1 here. So negative 0.5, negative 1, negative 1.5, negative 1, negative 0.5. We're ready to graph, guys. 0 is negative 0.5. 0 degrees, negative 0.5. So I can only go down halfway, right? 90 is negative 1. 90, I'm at negative 1. 180 is negative 1.5. 180, negative 1.5. 270 is negative 1. 270 is negative 1. 360 is negative 0.5. Guys, here's our wave. It's going to go. Now, notice, guys, because the 1/2, remember, 1/2 is our amplitude. I'm going to call it big A, or amp for short. That tells you how high it is, how far it goes up and down. See my little red arrows here? Okay? That's the amplitude. Notice the minus 1. What that meant was this whole graph normally would be here, follow the green, but it went down to negative 1 for our midline. Remember? The negative 1 is our midline, the middle line that splits the wave in half. Okay? Now, shall we do one more just to make sure we got it? Why not? So, guys, again, we're going to make our table. Remember, x is theta now. Just a change of name. Again, we'll just do cosine theta as a review. We're going to count by 90s. So cosine of 0 is 1. Cosine of 90 is 0. Cosine of 180 is negative 1. Cosine of 270 is 0. Cosine of 360, positive 1 again. Now this one says right here, we need to times by 3. Let's do 3 cosine theta. Here we go. We're just literally going to times these by 3. So 3 times 1, 3 times 0, 3 times negative 1, 3 times 0, 3 times the 1 is 3 again. And finally, the last thing we got to do for y is do a minus 2. Negative 3 minus 2 is negative 5. Watch your negatives. 0 minus 2 is negative 2. 3 minus 2 is 1. We're ready to graph. 0 degrees is 1. 0 is 1. 90 is negative 2. 90 is negative 2. 180 is negative 5. Negative 5. 270 is negative 2. 360 is 1. And this pattern follows. So the next one after 1 would have been negative 2. So if we would have gone to 450, guys, it would have gone back down to negative 2. And then after negative 2 is negative 5. So 540. We would have been down here at negative 5. Anyways, here's what my graph is going to look like. Alright, nice wave. Notice again, guys, because of the 3, that's your amplitude, amp for short. That tells you how high and how low the peaks are. And the minus 2 that we added on is your midline in purple here. Notice that's the middle of the wave at negative 2. In other words, again, what happened is normally it's here on the x-axis. The midline actually shifted down 2 spots. So hopefully you're understanding how to do a table with theta and cosines, and you're learning still about what the midline is, and you're learning or understanding what the amplitude is. And hopefully a lot of you have, but some of you need to practice those on Khan Academy. See you around, guys.